Yes.
Got it. Good. Okay. Let me try to find my way back. All right, Samantha, this is the state of Georgia versus Armand Chester. This is 20 SC 175644. Today is April 20th, 2021. These proceedings are being broadcast on the court's YouTube live stream channel. That is to ensure that we've met our obligation, which we take seriously, to make sure that the public's business remains open and accessible to it, even as we conduct these remote proceedings. So today, everyone in this case is appearing via the Zoom teleconference platform. And I'm going to ask Ms. Sims to ask any questions she might want to ask in that regard, with as to Mr. Chester's not appearing personally in court in this matter. Also, I'd like to state for the record that the state is represented by Ms. Michelle Sims. Mr. Chester, who is current on Zoom, is represented by Mr. Roderick Bridges. And at this time, I'm going to turn this matter over to Ms. Sims.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Chester, would you please raise your right hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the testimony you give in this hearing today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. I'm going to need you to speak up a little bit, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, you can put your hand down. Now, have you discussed today's proceedings with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And did he advise you that you had the right to be physically present in the courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you waive your right to be physically present in the courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you waive an original signature on the indictment and authorize the court to sign the indictment on your behalf?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bridges, do you waive an original signature on the indictment and authorize the court to sign on your behalf?
I do.
And Your Honor, the state also waives original signature on the indictment and authorizes the court to sign on its behalf.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Chester, please state your true, correct, and legal name.
Armand Davon Chester.
All right. Are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine?
No, ma'am.
Is there medication that you normally take that you have not taken today?
No, ma'am.
How old are you and how far have you gone in school?
I'm 38. I made it to 11th grade.
Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes, ma'am.
But you understand that you're charged with the following offenses in indictment 20 SC 175644. You're charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault, family violence, 1 count of battery, family violence, and 1 count of criminal trespass.
Yes,
You understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to these charges. If you plead not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorney about all the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charges in this indictment, including any potential defenses?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need more time to discuss the case with your attorney?
No, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with his services?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bridges, do you waive formal reading of the indictment and any potential defects?
We do.
And Mr. Chester, has your attorney advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence for each charge you are pleading to?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, according to the plea agreement, you are pleading today to 1 count of battery, family violence, and 1 count of criminal trespass. Both those offenses are misdemeanors that carries a sentencing range of 1 day to 12 months in jail. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you are entering what is called a negotiated plea of guilty, which means that the state will recommend a sentence to the court, but the court does not have to accept that recommendation. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
The court can sentence you to the maximum on each charge and can run those sentences one after the other. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and the recommendation that the state is making to the court is we are requesting for count 1 and count 2 to be null prost. Those are the aggravated assault, family violence. On count 3, battery, family violence, we are recommending a sentence of 12 months on probation, completion of the family violence intervention program, and that you're not allowed to have any contact with Alexandria Hughes until completion of the family violence intervention program. Then on count 4, criminal trespass, the state is recommending 12 months on probation to run concurrent with count 3. Do you understand that sentence recommendation?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that this is a guilty plea which is permanently recorded on your criminal history?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction, as well as in other jurisdictions, including in the federal courts?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you're currently on probation or parole, your probation or parole may be revoked based on your entering a guilty plea today?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you're placed on probation of any kind, you cannot violate any criminal laws of any governmental unit or any special conditions of probation without being subject to revocation for the balance of the sentence?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you're not allowed to possess or use a firearm while on probation?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you are not a United States citizen, the guilty plea conviction will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, just like a conviction at a trial would?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea conviction, just as there would be from a conviction following a trial?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you went to trial, you would have the right to a trial by jury, the right to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you, and the right to testify or to remain silent and not incriminate yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up the following rights: the right to a trial by jury, the right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself, the right to confront witnesses against you, the right to assistance of counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel if you cannot afford an attorney at a trial of your case, the right to the presumption of innocence, the right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence, the right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence, the right to have the charges against you proved beyond a reasonable doubt, and the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand these rights you waive?
Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea?
No, ma'am.
Is it your decision to waive these rights and enter a guilty plea because you are in fact guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to the charges of battery, family violence, and criminal trespass in indictment 20 SC 175644?
Guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with full knowledge of the charges against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you may have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have only 12 months from today to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of this guilty plea?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, Your Honor, the defendant has 6 prior felony convictions. He has a drug possession conviction from June of 2001, a theft by receiving stolen property conviction from May of 2006, an entering auto conviction from May of 2001, a burglary conviction from April of 2009, another drug possession conviction from September of 2015, and then he also has a marijuana with intent to distribute conviction, Your Honor. And the state believes if the case went to trial, the facts would show that on January 31st, 2020, police responded to 2001 Sylvan Road, apartment 1D, here in Atlanta and Fulton County. When they arrived, officers spoke with the victim, Alexandria Hughes. Ms. Hughes stated that earlier that day, the defendant, who was her boyfriend, pushed her several times during an argument that they had over rent. that later that day, the defendant punched her in the lip and the eye, and she sustained a black eye as a result of the incident. And then police were called back another time, and the victim, Ms. Alexandra Hughes, explained that on February 1st, 2020, the defendant and she got into another argument, and the defendant strangled her. There were visible scratch marks around her neck. And then on February 2nd, 2020, they again got into another argument. She indicated that the defendant damaged her bedroom door and also damaged her flat screen television. And Ms. Hughes and Mr. Chester had lived together for 9 months, Your Honor, which is why this is a domestic violence case. Your Honor, Ms. Hughes is present on the call. I spoke with her about the case sometime in February, Your Honor, spoke with her at length. She had attempted to withdraw the charges prior to the time I spoke with her. When I spoke with her, she indicated that she still did not want the case to proceed, and she wished the charges to be dropped. Because of the nature of the charges, Your Honor, because it happened over several days, the state was not inclined to dismiss the charges completely, especially since he does have a criminal history. But we did work out this recommendation, and we would ask that the court accept the recommendation.
All right, thank you. Anything further from the state?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Bridges?
Your Honor, we just ask you to follow the recommendation of the state.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chester, I have some questions for you, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you understand the questions asked of you here today by the Assistant District Attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you understand when she asked you whether you were willing to waive certain rights? Did you, in order to plead guilty, did you understand those questions?
I understood them, but like not too tough.
So does that mean you understood them, but maybe not exactly?
Right.
Would you like us to repeat them?
I mean, you can. Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Sims, why don't you begin with, the part about jury trial and cross-examining witnesses and those questions.
Apologize, I was on mute there, for Your Honor.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chester, do you understand that if you went to trial, you would have a right to a trial by jury? And you would have the right to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you. You would have the right to testify or remain silent and not incriminate yourself.
I don't want to incriminate myself. Like, I mean, I just want to get this over with. Like, I'm
Okay.
tired.
All right, so let me ask you, because when we say incriminate yourself, basically because you're entering a plea of guilty, so you're saying to the court that, yes, I did do this. That's what we mean by incriminate yourself. If you went to trial.
We had verbal conversations. That was it. Like the verbal and all the other stuff, like the punching.
Your Honor, let me talk. Let me give him a call on the phone.
Okay.
And you all can continue on with Ms. Lake's case, and I'll give him a call on the phone. And when I finish talking to him, I'll come back.
That sounds perfect. Thank you. All right, Ms. Lake, you and Mr. Cox ready? I have to make sure Mr. Cox is back in the, yeah, I see him there on the front row. Mr. Cox, can you come to the podium, please, sir? Ms. Sims, this is you too, right?
It is, Your Honor.
Okay, well, let's see if we can get one through. Ms. Lake, you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you've had an opportunity to speak to your client, correct?
Yes.
All righty. All right, Samantha, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, this is the state of Georgia versus Mr. Kariga Collins. This is 20 SC 176834. Today is April the 20th, 2021. And I'm going to discuss in just a moment where everyone is, but I will note for the record that the proceedings are both being taken down by a court reporter, and they are being broadcast on the court's YouTube live stream program. in order to meet our obligation to keep the public's business open and accessible to it. I will say that Mr. Cox, the defendant, is actually present in the courtroom. And all right, I'm getting a message. We'll get to that in just one moment. The defendant is actually in the courtroom 8A, and the rest of us, and he is on camera. So he's on the Zoom teleconference platform. The rest of us are all remote, as in not in the courtroom. We are all attending via the Zoom teleconference platform. The state is represented by Ms. Shell Sims. The defendant is represented by Ms. Catherine Lake. And I would like to also note what everyone may have seen just a moment ago is that we have a message to all from Ms. LaToya Butler and let's see, what did it say?
She wants to talk to you. She's the victim.
Yeah, and okay. She would like to speak to the judge. So, Ms. Sims, I am going to ask you if you can reach. I'm not able to speak to you, Ms. Butler, by myself. I would encourage you to speak to the assistant district attorney in this matter. Is that acceptable to you?
That's fine, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Sims, how do you recommend that occur? Do you want me to put y'all in a breakout room?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm going to do that right now, potentially.
you.
Now, the others are on the phone, right?
We're back.
Yeah, but I mean, in the other case, Mr. Bridges is talking to his client via the telephone, correct?
Your Honor, that was Mr. Chester telling you that we're back, we're finished, and so we're ready to proceed whenever. I don't know if we need Ms. Sims to complete the plea, but he understands everything now and he's ready to go forward.
Okay, I think we need Ms. Sims. And so let me ask Ms. Butler if you can hang on just for Ms. Sims may have already gone.
Yeah, I think she's already gone.
Okay, Ms. Butler, you go join Ms. Sims in accept the breakout room invitation, okay?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And we're at ease.
Your Honor, I guess what we can do while Ms. Sims is in there, we can put the probation revocation on the record.
I'm going to need her for that too, Mr.
Okay.
Bridges. I appreciate that, but and if you'll just hang on, Mr. Cox, you can have a seat for a minute if you'd like, or you can continue standing at the podium. It's up to you.
Kat, is this a misdemeanor or felony plea?
Felony.
Okay. With probation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Miss Lake,
Yes, ma'am.
if I send you the reporting instructions for Mr. Cox, would you be able to get it to him?
Not physically, but I can email it to him.
Okay.
He's in the Georgia Works program right now. He's inpatient there.
Do you have that information?
Sure. What information do you need?
The address and point of contact.
Your Honor, we are back.
Are we ready to go forward with Mr. Cox?
We are, Your Honor. So we're not going to finish up with Mr. Chester?
We can do whatever y'all want to do. We had started Mr. Cox, but if Mr. Chester is back and ready, it certainly would probably be easier to finish that one.
We're ready, Your Honor.
Okay. So I think that we were talking about, at least Mr. Bridges, I was inquiring of Mr. Chester whether he understood the rights that he is giving up and waiving in order to enter his plea of guilty. And so would you like me to proceed with those questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Chester, now it's important to the court. I mean, this isn't just an exercise. Do you understand what you're doing today is basically what I'm asking you.
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand that if you didn't plead guilty, the state would have to take you to trial and would have to prove your case in front of a jury. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And that you would have the right not to testify. You would not have to incriminate yourself. The state would have the sole burden of proving your case beyond a reasonable doubt to the jury. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And if the state were to put up witnesses, you would have the opportunity to cross-examine. Your lawyer could cross-examine those witnesses. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you could subpoena witnesses on your own behalf if you wanted to. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
So among other things, and the rights that were read to you and then reread to you, you're giving those up by saying, I am guilty of battery, family violence misdemeanor, and I am guilty of criminal trespass misdemeanor. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Has anybody threatened you to do this today?
No, ma'am.
Has anybody promised you anything in order to get you to do that?
No, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with the services of your attorney, Mr. Bridges?
Yes, ma'am.
You believe you've had adequate time to discuss this case with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I do find that Mr. Chester is entering his plea willingly, freely, knowingly, and voluntarily. I do find that there's an adequate basis, in fact, for the charges presented to the court. And I do agree with the negotiated plea. And I also want to note that we are going to discuss and resolve an outstanding warrant for probation violation for Mr. Chester in 14 SC 128095. But on one count of count 3, battery, family violence, the court hereby sentences you to 12 months on probation. You are to enter into and complete a family violence intervention program. And we'll discuss that in a minute as part of your probation, and that you are to have no further contact with Ms. Alexandria Hughes until the completion of your family violence intervention program. And that on count 4, criminal trespass, you are to complete 12 months on probation. Ms. Sims, is that with the same conditions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and that's to run concurrently with the sentence in count 3. Now, and I'm going to come back to talk about the Family Violence Intervention Program in just a moment, but I'd also like to go ahead and put on the record that the probation in 14 SC 128095 will be continued, or you'll continue on that probation, but there are features of that probation that you have not completed. And I want to read those on the record so that we can make sure that you understand you are not currently in compliance, but you must be in compliance with those conditions in order to remain free. Officer Brown, are you prepared to read those conditions for that probation?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Chester has to complete the SAS program or the aftercare component of the MADRC
Okay.
and obtain his GED and provide proof to probation upon completion of that.
I'm sorry, Ms. Probation. What was the first thing you said? The AFT program?
The SAS, SAAS, aftercare program for the Metro Atlanta Day Reporting Center.
Thank you.
And then number 3, is he not supposed to have drug tests, or he's supposed to be off alcohol? What's that one?
No drugs or alcohol, but he does have testing required as part of the aftercare program.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Chester, here is what, as part of this entire matter and getting this resolved, Ms. Hughes, I believe, is on the line. You have got to go to this family first. You've got to go to this Family Violence Intervention Program. It's not a one-day deal. It is a multi-day program, and you got to go. There is not a way out of it other than to complete it and to complete it successfully. And I've got to say to you, sir, that since you've got to go, and since it is a valuable program, and since they're going to tell you things about how to deal in family situations, how to watch your temper, how to have some coping mechanisms for when you do lose your temper, how to, again, I don't know if you have children, but if you do have children or parents or siblings, it is a valuable program. It just is. And you got to go anyway. So you might as well listen. And you might as well participate in good faith, because you're going to come out of it having learned something. I guarantee you. Also, with regard to the probation that we're continuing you on, you haven't done that stuff. And you are going to have to do that stuff, or you're going to have to come right back into custody. So you've got to finish up the Metro Atlanta Day Reporting Center and their aftercare. You have to obtain your GED. You're 38 years old. You're very close. You went to Sure.
I graduated the DRC last year, January 13th. I graduated the program.
Okay, good.
I'm at least 6 classes away from finishing SAS. So I was going to ask, do I start off where I finish, or do I have to start SAS all the way back over? Because I was halfway through with SAS.
Madam Probation? Officer Brown?
Yes, I'm not sure about that. That is something that he would have to discuss with the SAS officer.
We can put in the sentence, and Kathy, correct me. No, it's your paperwork.
All right.
Officer Brown, I would recommend that we put in that paperwork that the court recommends that he be able to pick up where he left off.
All right.
But you know, now wait a minute now, Mr. Chester, because they may say we don't know how to do that. So that's the court's recommendation. final decision being left up to Metro Atlanta Day Reporting Center. Now let's get back to that GED, Mr. Chester. I'm not fooling around about that. You've got to finish it, and you've got to submit yourself to drug testing, and I would highly recommend that you not test positive anymore. So is there, and you and Ms. Hughes don't need to be, I mean, it doesn't sound like this is going anywhere. So by order of the court, you can't have any contact with her at all until you finish the Family Violence Intervention Program. So y'all need to go on with your lives. You don't seem to be doing particularly well together. Anything else?
Your Honor, I know we had the Ellaby case that the probation officer said she was going to administratively close. I don't know, does she need to take that to Judge Ellaby to administratively close it, or can we do it here?
Officer Brown, we probably do need to put that on the record, is that probation is agreeing to administratively close that case.
Yes, probation is agreeing to close out 15 SC 140028.
Okay, does that need to be signed by a judge?
Yes, it does. I
Okay.
will complete the paperwork.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anything else in Mr. Chester's case for the state?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Bridges?
Ms. Kathy, did you get the paperwork I sent you?
Let me see. I didn't actually see. Yes, thank you very much.
I think that's it, Your Honor.
Mr. Chester, are we clear with each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I just need Mr. Chester's address and telephone number.
Okay, I'll send that to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can we close this record down?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good luck, Mr. Chester.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Ms. Hughes. Okay, let's go back to Mr. Cox then. And I show us really just starting when we got the message from, she's Ms. Butler on here. So are we ready to proceed with finishing Mr. Cox or starting Mr. Cox?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Sims, you ready to get started?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, well, let me finish my introduction because I believe I had gotten through the fact that it's April 20th, 2021, and I believe I had further gotten through the fact that Mr. Cox is actually in courtroom 8A. The rest of us are appearing via the Zoom teleconference platform. We are on YouTube live stream, which satisfies our obligation to keep our business open to the public. I will say this is the state of Georgia versus Mr. Kariga Cox, and that this is 20 SC 176834. The state is represented by Ms. Michelle Sims, and Mr. Cox is represented by Ms. Catherine Lake. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to you, Ms. Sims. And of course, I know you will want to ask Mr. Cox about his appearance today. Okay, take it away.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cox, is he at the, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Took a second for me to locate you. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this hearing today will be the truth and the whole truth? Sir?
I can't hear you.
Okay, thank you. All right, you can put your hand down. Now, Mr. Cox, you are physically present in the courtroom today. However, your attorney, the judge, and myself, the assistant district attorney, we are all appearing via Zoom. Normally, we would be in the courtroom with you. Are you okay with us doing this hearing with the three of us appearing via Zoom?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, also, normally, we would all be present together and we would all sign the indictment entering your plea. Even though you were there because of COVID, we're not having everyone sign individually. Do you waive an original signature on the indictment and authorize the court to sign the indictment on your behalf?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Lake, do you waive an original signature on the indictment and authorize the court to sign on your behalf?
I do.
And Your Honor, the state waives the original signature on the indictment and authorizes the court to sign on its behalf.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cox, would you please state your true, correct, and legal name?
The regular cops.
Are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine?
No, ma'am.
Is there medication that you normally take that you have not taken today?
Did you hear that, sir? Repeat that if you don't mind, Ms. Sims.
Mr. Cox, is there a medication that you normally take that you have not taken today?
No.
All right. How old are you and how far have you gone in school?
I'm 40 years old and completed school all the way up until 11th grade.
All right. So are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes,
Do you understand that you are charged with the following offenses in indictment 20 SC 176834? You're charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery, 1 count of battery family violence, and 1 count of cruelty to children in the 3rd degree.
yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to these charges? If you plead not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial. Have you reviewed the rights that you waive by entering a plea today with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorney about all the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charges in this indictment, including any potential defenses?
Yes.
Need more time to discuss the case with your attorney?
No.
Are you satisfied with her services?
Yes.
Ms. Lake, do you waive formal reading of the indictment and any potential defects?
I do for purposes of today's plea.
Thank you. Mr. Cox, has your attorney advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence for each charge you are pleading to?
Yes.
Are you pleading to 1 count of aggravated battery and 1 count of battery family violence? Aggravated battery carries the potential sentencing range of 1 to 20 years in prison, and battery, which is a misdemeanor offense, carries a sentencing range of 1 day to 12 months in jail. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, do you understand that this is a negotiated plea of guilty, which means that the state will recommend a sentence to the court, but that the court does not have to accept that recommendation?
Yes.
The court can sentence you to the maximum on each charge and can run each charge consecutively or one after the other. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, and the sentence recommendation that the state is providing to the court is on count 1, aggravated battery, recommending 3 years on probation. That as part of the probation, you must successfully complete the Georgia Works program and comply with the recommended aftercare, and you're to have no violent contact with LaToya Butler. And then on count 2, we're recommending that count be null pros. Count 3, we are recommending on battery family violence that you be sentenced to 12 months on probation to run concurrent to count 1. Then on count 4, cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, we are requesting that be null pros. Do you understand that recommendation?
What was your answer?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Do you understand that this is a guilty plea which is permanently recorded on your criminal history?
Yes.
Do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction, as well as in other jurisdictions, including in the federal courts?
Yes.
Do you understand that if you are currently on probation or parole, your probation or parole may be revoked based on your entering a guilty plea today?
Yes.
Do you understand that if you are placed on probation of any kind, you cannot violate any criminal laws of any governmental unit or any special conditions of probation without being subject to revocation for the balance of the sentence?
Ma'am.
Sorry, what was that?
Yes.
Okay. you understand that you're not allowed to use or possess a firearm while on probation?
Yes,
Do you understand that if you're not a United States citizen, a guilty plea conviction will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, just like a conviction at a trial would, and that this is true regardless of any advice by your attorney or anyone else?
yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea conviction, just as there would be from a conviction following a trial?
Yes, ma'am.
For example, your guilty plea may affect the right to vote, the right to hold public office, the right to serve on a jury, the right to obtain a passport, the right to receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or the ability to obtain employment.
Yes,
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
yes,
Do you understand that if you went to trial, you would have the right to a trial by jury, the right to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you, and the right to testify or to remain silent and not incriminate yourself?
yes,
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up the following rights? The right to a trial by jury, the right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself, the right to confront witnesses against you, the right to assistance of counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel if you cannot afford an attorney at a trial of your case, the right to the presumption of innocence, the right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence, the right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence, the right to have the charges against you proved beyond a reasonable doubt, and the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial.
yes,
Has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea?
no, ma'am.
Is it your decision to waive these rights and enter a guilty plea because you are in fact guilty?
Yes,
How do you plead to the charges of aggravated battery and battery family violence in indictment 20 SC 176834?
guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with full knowledge of the charges against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you may have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes,
Do you understand that you have only 4 years from today for the aggravated battery charge and 12 months from today for the battery family violence charge to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of this guilty plea?
yes,
All right, thank you, sir. All right, so Your Honor, the defendant has 3 prior felony convictions. He has a marijuana with intent to distribute conviction from March of 2005. He has an aggravated assault conviction from October of 2008 and another aggravated assault conviction from April of 2012. The state believes if the case went to trial, the facts would show that on April 8th of 2020, officers responded to 2280 Campbellton Road, apartment 508, here in Atlanta, Fulton County, and made contact with the victim, LaToya Butler, who is the mother of the defendant's child. Ms. Butler indicated that the defendant punched her in her face and caused her nose to bleed. The injury was visible. The incident took place in the presence of their child, who saw the incident. And the defendant, let's see, he was arrested and charged accordingly. And I stated this all occurred here in Fulton County. Your Honor, Ms. Butler, when she wanted to speak, she wanted to make sure that you were aware and that I was aware of as well, that she did not want a no contact order in place. She stated several times that she is not in fear of the defendant. She says that he is a great father and she wants him to be allowed to be around their son. She said that he had been doing very well. I didn't catch the name of the program, but he had been in a program, and while he was in the program, he was doing very well. She said it was when the pandemic started and he wasn't able to go to the classes, that's when the incident happened. And so she is happy with this plea offer, and would request, as well as the state asks, Your Honor, that you accept the recommendation as provided.
All right, thank you. Ms. Lake.
Your Honor, Mr. Cox and I also asked the court to accept this plea as negotiated. Judge, Mr. Cox was originally born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He moved here to Atlanta in 2000. He received his GED in 2013. Before his arrest, Your Honor, he was working at Stryker Medical in Atlantic Station, as well as Universal Furniture. As you heard, he and Miss Butler do have a 2-year-old son named Jakari. Mr. Cox has not seen Jakari in over a year. Your Honor will recall that Mr. Cox was arrested in April of 2020. He spent a significant amount of time in custody. Your Honor, he was eventually released, thanks to Your Honor, in February of this year to the Georgia Works program. He's been doing very well in Georgia Works, Your Honor. He's been there about 2 months now. He has been assigned to a work detail recently. He calls me to check in and tells me how he's doing, just touches base with me, make sure I still have his contact information, make sure that he gets an update about what's going on with his case and when he needs to appear in court. Your Honor, I do believe that this is a fair resolution of this case, and I would ask Your Honor to accept the plea as negotiated. Part of the negotiation, Your Honor, is that Mr. Cox be continued on his current sentence of probation in case number 19SC172368. So we would ask you to continue him on probation in that case as well. Thank you.
Okay, now I didn't hear about that case in the state's recitation of his background. So what is that case?
Judge, that was a 2019 Fulton County case. I believe Miss Butler was involved. The final disposition, let's see. It was a conviction for aggravated assault, battery, family violence, and cruelty to children, 3rd degree.
Okay, and what are the terms of that probation? And is there any violation? Are there any violations outstanding? Officer Brown, if you could help us as well.
Your Honor, he is not on active probation.
Okay. You don't see this 19 SC case?
Hold on.
It's 19 SC 172368.
Yes, there's no violations for that.
Okay.
That case expires 1/20/23. For some reason, they have him as an inmate on that case.
Okay, and is the state willing to have him continued on probation in that case to run concurrently? Anybody? State probation?
Yes, we can just continue him on probation, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor, I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. All right. All right, Mr. Cox, I have some questions for you, sir. Can you hear me? Okay. All right, Mr. Cox, first of all, I want to thank you for being present in the courtroom. I'm sorry that I'm not there, but I do appreciate your taking the time and the effort to be there today. So that's number one. Number two, did you understand the questions asked of you here today by the Assistant District Attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand the rights you're giving up by entering your plea of guilty today?
Yes.
All right. Are you willing to give up those rights to go ahead and enter your plea before the court?
Yes.
Has anybody promised you anything or threatened you in any way to get you to do that?
No,
Are you satisfied with the services of your attorney, Ms. Lake?
yes,
Okay. You think you've had enough time to discuss this matter with her?
yes,
Okay. I do find that Mr. Cox is entering his plea willingly, freely, knowingly, and voluntarily. I do find that there's an adequate basis, in fact, for the charges presented to the court, and I do accept his plea of guilty. Therefore, in 20 SC 176834, on count 1 of aggravated battery, the court hereby sentences you to 3 years on probation, based on the following conditions. Number 1, that you complete the Georgia Works program that you apparently are currently enrolled in, and that you have no further or no violent contact with Ms. LaToya Butler. Are the two of you still together in a relationship?
well, yes, actually, I just haven't seen my son, I've been anywhere around.
Okay.
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't understand anything you said. If you can lift the mic up and come a little closer to it, please.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
I said, actually, I haven't seen my son or Miss Butler since I was incarcerated for those charges.
Okay.
Been like about a year and close to a year and a half. So,
All right. Well, what I want to make clear to you, sir, and I want certainly Ms. Butler to hear it, and I'm going to get to the rest of the sentence in a minute, but just in terms of the special conditions, you're obviously you have some issues with custody and with parenting of the child to work your way through. And I would encourage you to seek some type of help in that, either in the form of, there are a number of community services out there. There's a group called Families First that can help you, or you might also contact the Family Information Center at the Superior Court that can also help you work through some of those parenting issues. Some places may be affected by COVID. There is an awfully good program at the Lutheran Church downtown. But you're going to have to work those things out in a totally not violent. I mean, I hope that goes without saying, but you're going to have to work together. This boy's 2. That's really, really, really little. And you have an awful long time to go. And I appreciate hearing that you are a good dad, because there's nothing more important, and certainly going forward, there's nothing more important. But I'm going to put in your paperwork that you are to have no violent contact with her. And that means that you really need to particularly watch your behavior, certainly around your son. Children only do what they see their parents do, which is not too hard to figure out. Okay. On count number 2 is being null-prost. On count number 3, the court hereby sentences you to 12 months on probation with the same conditions, and to run concurrently with the sentence in count 1, and count 4 is being null-prost. Now, with regard to the probation matter, you'll remain on your active probation in 19 SC 172368.
Your Honor,
Yo.
I'm sorry if I may, when I checked case management, I saw that you actually ruled on his probation revocation back on February 4th earlier this year. So you
Okay.
already have the order in there for that case.
Does it continue him?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, then he's double continued.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Cox, I guess I'm saying this to you, and I'm saying this where Ms. Butler can hear it. Not all relationships are meant to be, and certainly you've been successful in having what I'm positive is a great child. But anything else between the two of you is solely at your own risk. You understand? Yes, would do. You understand, sir?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, we do.
Okay. And the Georgia work sounds like it's working, and I wish you continued success there. Is there anything further in this case?
No, Your
Not
Honor.
for me, Judge.
Okay, so there's some resources that you can contact, and I'll be happy to send some names and information to your lawyer, and she can pass them on because there's some good family contacts out there. They will help you. They will help you learn a different language to speak to each other. It is not the language of romance. It is the language of co-parents, and it is a much more beautiful language, and you can learn it. Okay. End of sermon. Best of luck to both of you and to that little boy. Keep in touch with us. Send us a picture. All right. Thank you. As if they're okay. For those of
Mr.
you
Cox.
who have been on since the beginning of time, my advice to you is one word: eat. And my second advice is that y'all stay safe, and we'll see you later this week.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks everybody for working so hard. We appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Will,
Bye.
will we be having court on Thursday? In-person court?
I don't know. We'll get you some information on that. Oh yeah, Kathy says we have in-person motions.
Mhm.
We'll be there.